Well, good evening to everybody. Thanks to each and every single person for joining us. I'm now seeing all of the attendees come right in here, and I can see that there's many of you, many names that are now familiar to me. Hello, Sarka, great to have you back again. Of course, Mary McKenna, who was uber helpful earlier on today. Hello, Yvonne. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Christine. Christine, again, another person who was a great contributor on the chat today. Anya, great to have you. Okay, so I can see lots and lots of people there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get straight into the order of business for today. To remind everybody, again, our hashtag is EmpowerConf. So EMPOWERCONF. We'd love if you tweeted and if you interacted with us. Just as well to let those of you who know who've just joined us, I did 2 Facebook Lives earlier on today, just like I promised, with the summaries from earlier on today, where I put in the summary, I described what Mary spoke about, Lorraine spoke about, Niamh spoke about, and then secondly, Charlene and Aoife and Sinead. So all of those are on Facebook, and of course on Instagram there's been lots happening as well. Now we have a really lovely evening for you in store. We hope that you all got the email and that you have the rum and the mint and the brown sugar and all sorts and all ready to go. But before we get into the nature of and speaking to our two panelists here tonight, what I just first of all would like to do is to go to Dara Solon. And Dara, first of all, you're very welcome. You are, of course, from the Department of Justice and Equality. And in particular, I was going to say you're the man behind the funding for the programme. Maybe you provided it all, but certainly here to represent the organisation that makes Empower possible. So would you mind, first of all, just sharing a word or two about the programme and your perspective?
Yeah, thanks a million, Susan. And thank you, Maria, for inviting me here this evening. And also for the event this morning. I mean, it was, in my view, a really top quality event. Very good speakers, really inspirational messages, and so inspirational, in fact, that I am this close to becoming a fashion influencer after the session this morning. So it has been really impactful on me. But as Susan said, my name is Dara Solon. I work in the Funds Administration Unit of the Department of Justice and Equality. Shortly, we're moving to the Department of Children, Disability, Equality and Integration, although we don't expect that to have much impact on our day-to-day routines. But back in 2016, we ran a call for proposals on behalf of the European Social Fund around the area of gender equality. And we had 80 applications in total, from which 23 were chosen in various parts of the country. And in total, grant funding of 8.8 million was awarded to the projects. 50% of this funding came from the Irish government and 50% from the European Social Fund. And of this 8.8 million, 1 million was allocated to 4 projects in the area of women's entrepreneurship. And the Empower programme was one of those 4. We were very impressed with the application from GMIT in 2016, and we were delighted at the time to be able to support it. We were very pleased with the way the project had been run. We wish to offer congratulations to Maria and her team for the way in which they have delivered on this project to date. For me, I get to work with a lot of projects around the country, and I absolutely love events like this. It is amazing to hear people's stories and to hear the ways in which targeted grant funding through projects like Empower can transform people's lives. For many women on programs like this, the benefits are not just in terms of their professional development, but also in forming social and business networks that they can rely on to support them for the future. I was very impressed with the launch event this morning, Empower 2, and the words that people were using, like confidence, courage, inner self-belief, they resonate very well with me from messages I hear from participants all around the country. So great project, great outcomes. And Empower is a project which comes under the general heading of gender equality. And the overall aim of that programme is to address the imbalance between men and women in Irish employment and in business. Recent surveys have shown that the climate in Ireland for entrepreneurs is more positive now, this is obviously pre-COVID, than it has been for many years. However, the surveys also show that men are almost 2 times more likely than women to set up a new business. And that is why initiatives such as the Empower Project are so important. As a country, as a society, we are making progress in making Irish business life more equal, but we're not there yet. So in 2019, we ran another call for proposals under the gender equality stream. Again, this is European Social Fund, 50% European Social Fund, 50% Irish government. And 17 projects were approved, total grant funding of 5.5 million. And I'm really pleased to be able to report that GMIT was successful in its application there too. So that's why the new Empower 2 project has been approved further funding up to the end of 2022. 2022 also is important for another reason, because it's the end of the current European Social Fund programme. It's 2014 to 2020, but it actually ends in 2022. We are aware that there's a further programme coming for the period from 2021 to 2027. And we very much hope that there will be opportunities to fund similar projects under the new programme. And if I may, Susan, I would like to offer or challenge the participants on this call to offer suggestions as to how the existing funding stream or the existing projects, many of the people who are on this call have been on the Empower programme and they know this better than anybody else. Are there things that can be done better, can be done differently, that would help the funding achieve more in its ambitions? I would like to offer particular thanks to Maria and her team on behalf of the department for the way in which they've run the Empower programme. And I really look forward to working with Maria and particularly Sandra on the new programme. To the graduates of the Empower programme, I would like to offer hearty congratulations. It takes courage to sign up for a programme like this and determination to keep going when I'm sure it often wasn't easy. I hope that for you, the future is exciting, rewarding, and highly successful, and wish you every success as you set out to achieve your ambitions. To all the participants on this call, I hope we all have a wonderful evening, wherever you are. And despite what I voted this morning, I really do hope we get to have these sessions face-to-face before very long. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Dara. And I have to say, there has been several comments that have been coming in that I'm just going to read out here now. First of all, I reiterate Dara's request or his opportunity or his challenge to you is, so what would you like to see maybe that could be done differently or that could make it better than ever? So Katrina, for example, says, my suggestion, stipends for participants in Empower similar to the structure of New Frontiers. Rachel says, as a past Empower participant, I can honestly say it has been absolutely instrumental in building a successful business. Maria is an outstanding facilitator and has always made herself available even when our programme ended. The friendships that have developed are lifelong. Katrina Waters says, here, Vicky, Maria, you've been such a steady, unwavering support to us all. Assumpta said, delighted to continue with Empower Growth with Sandra and Declan. That is, of course, Assumpta, who had a great day already today, winning the prize earlier on. Also, as well, Sandra said, definitely all about career change and personal development. Vicky said, excellent programme all round. Well done to Maria and the team and all the support provided over the past 12 months. Assumpta says, much kudos to Maria, an amazing lady who really cares about women in business and driving us all on to succeed. And one last one is Mary McKenna says that I think Dara would make a great fashion influencer, ladies. What do you think? So you're topping the poll there now. You already have a new following, Dara. I learned a lot from the influencers earlier on today. George says, Dara, thank you and the department for the support for Empower 1 and now Empower 2 programs for the GMIT hubs. And Rachel says, would love to see more spaces on the Empower Growth. So I believe, Dara, you do want people, you genuinely do want the feedback to come in. So obviously people can send it through here on the chat. Is there any other channel you want them to send it to, directly to Maria or any other place?
I suppose they could send it to, but if people want to email me, they could do it at dxsolon@justice.ie. That'd be fine.
I'll put that in.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you indeed, Maria. That would be great. Super. Well, so please do, just like you did today, please do keep the comments coming in through the chat. I am really vigilant to it over here. If you have questions and answers, of course, you feel free to send them in there too. Right. So Maria, the woman of the moment, I have to say, I'm seeing your fan club appearing here in my right screen. So could you maybe just speak for a little while? I know you spoke today on Empower broadly, but specifically on this cohort and your experience, please.
Absolutely. I just wish, I suppose, first of all, that I suppose that we could deliver the event physically would have been fantastic. Not Susan, that we would still have had you physically, but I'm just a little bit disappointed. The end of April, we were meant to have the event, all getting together, having a big night of it and enjoying ourselves and kind of, kind of just capping off Empower. It wasn't meant to be. But I have said to all the women, and hope you can all hear me on the call, that we will do it again. 2021, we'll get together and we'll have some sort of an alumni get together, and maybe hopefully the new Empower as well. We'll make the club a little bit larger and stuff. But what can I say about Empower? First of all, I'll reiterate what George has said there. We have to say a big thank you to the Department of Justice and Equality. Dara in particular has been of a huge support to me. I am worried now that he's going to be getting into the fashion sense and I won't be able to get a hold of him, or when I go on these calls he'll be all spruced up and I'll be worried the way I look. But anyway, no, I want to say a big thank you to Dara, because he has been a huge support to me, and there's a lot of, I suppose, work that comes down from the EU, and he guides me with that, which is very, very important. And I have been on to the women and I have to get statistics back to them, and all of the women have been very, forthcoming with that, which is hugely important, because that it's all about giving the information back as well, so they can see how the program, moves on, and, how we get on. Does it improve the environment here? And so I guess I talked about it a lot this morning, so I'm not going to go into the whole program again, and everybody that's here knows what it's about. We've had huge support. I mentioned it this morning about the whole "it takes a village to raise a child," and I really feel like that would empower. I got huge support in the region. I went out to so many different people straight away when we got the funding, and everybody was on board with me. And I didn't have to. There was nobody I had to beg. Everybody said this is brilliant. We'd love to support it. And I mentioned them earlier: the local enterprise office, the Network Ireland group. And thankfully, all the women now have joined. Even some of them had joined before, but a lot of them have participated and joined into the networks. And in Donegal and Sligo similarly. It's great to see. I think that's what it's all about. As Dara mentioned, their confidence is a big one. And if you find peers, I mentioned this morning, I think the big thing for me out of Empower is the friendships, and also the support that each woman has given each other. That has been enormous. I could give examples of that. There was one example I didn't give this morning, where we had one woman who was gone to a health conference in Dublin, and I remember seeing this kind of message with WhatsApp groups, and she was saying to another lady, I won't mention any names, but she said to her, get on the train. I have a place to stay in my hotel tonight. I've just met a really good contact for you. And the lady jumped on the train and joined her in Dublin. And I often thought about that afterwards, saying, I work in the Innovation Hub for years. I've never seen that kind of thing going on. So what I noticed about women, it's very much the team element. Everybody helps one another. Nobody's trying to outdo one another, which is lovely to see. And it's, if you see somebody else doing better, I noticed that with the groups, they're delighted, they're genuinely delighted for each other. And I think that's really nice to see. And it's probably an element of, the female thing anyway, the social element. But it really came through on Empower. I won't say much more, because I'm dying myself to hear the speakers and watch Septa do something nice for us. We all need it at this stage. But we did launch our case studies. I have them. I didn't really know how to bring them on here tonight, but I'm going to put them up on the website, guys. So everybody who has, I suppose, contributed to it will be in it. And those of you who haven't, you'll be still on our website anyway. I know people are super busy, so not everybody could be on it. However, I hope I've captured, kind of the various case studies and stories. And I think that's very important for the next Empower as well. And hopefully, as Dara mentioned, there's another call maybe in a year or two. Hopefully we'll be in the mix for some of that stuff. But if there's Susan, with her wonderful IT skills again. So that's kind of what the brochure looks like. And there's, people can pick from it and look at it, and feel free to share it. It's there for everybody to use. But it's about capturing, what went on, what kind of businesses were on the Empower. And then people can, like we talk about role models, people can see what others have done and hopefully reiterate that and want to do it themselves. So ladies, a big thank you to all of you who are on here tonight. You have made the Empower #1 absolutely wonderful. I have enjoyed my time on it. I'm looking forward to Empower 2. Sandra is guiding that. I'll just be there to help her. But I couldn't have had a better couple of years, 3 years with you all. And I hope, as some people have made the comments, we'll keep those friendships. We'll keep meeting. We'll have those alumni sessions, and we'll be checking in with you all, seeing how you're all doing. It's not ended just because tonight is kind of the closing part of it. Thank you, Susan.
You're very welcome indeed, Maria. And I try to keep up with that. There's so many names in there. It's fantastic. Lots more of you have joined since we started speaking, so you're all really welcome. Just to reiterate what Dara did ask is that, like, from a Department of Justice point of view, is there any way or any feedback that you have about how the programme could be amended or changed in time to come? I've loads of messages. I feel like Jerry Ryan on the Ryan line here, you know, I really do. So just to read them out, because they're really lovely. We're delighted at IT. Jeanette says, we're delighted at IT Sligo to be involved with the Empower programme. Work with Maria and Sandra and the team at GMIT is a great experience. Then Dara said, Rick Officer said, Dara, many thanks to you and the department for your ongoing support. Rachel said, I hope you have a crown for Maria. Can't wait for the big get together. Vicky then said, great idea, Maria. Something to look forward to in 2021. Now, interestingly, Mary Finn was wonderful all day today, commenting a lot in the chat. She said, this type of event just proves how flexible, adaptable people we all are. Rachel said, well done, Dara. Katrina said, well done. Huge thank you to GMIT and the department for their support. Then Sandra said, love the idea of getting the ladies from Empower 1 and Empower 2 together. We'll make it happen. Sharon said, thanks, Maria, for all your support to Network Galway. Janine says, Maria, proud to have participated in your programme. You're a powerhouse for creativity enabling. Mary, I think this is Mary McHugh. Heartiest congratulations to Maria and the team, a super team, and more than that. Really thankful for all the support professionally and personally. Maria goes above and beyond. It certainly takes a village. So many supports, and love to support too. Thank you, Maria. Rachel says, absolutely, Maria, a wonderful team spirit. Then we have Mary McKenna says, big love for Maria Staunton. Support and friendship are so important, as it can be a lonely old road, amplifying each other and thinking about how you can help other women. Evelyn said, well done, Maria, the heart of Empower. Louise said, Maria is a living legend, a phenomenal support to everyone who knocks on her door. A massive congratulations to you and the team for a fantastic programme and event. Catherine said, congratulations, Maria and the team. Such a fantastic programme with super people. I'm grateful to you all. Maria Flannery said, this happened because of you, Maria. You treated everyone as an equal. Well done to you and your team. Elaine Kennedy said, Maria is a true champion for female entrepreneurs in the west of Ireland and an All-Ireland winning captain to boot. Huh?
Elaine. I have Declan Droney to thank for that, but anyway, yeah.
Now, as quick as I'm reading them out is as quick as they're coming in. So I'm going to go to Nolene and I'm going to, because it is important. And Rachel says, haha, she kept that secret. She certainly did. I have spoken to this woman an awful lot for the past 3 months and I didn't hear a bit about it. So absolutely what we'll do is that I do wanted to go through all of those. But in the meantime, what I'd now like to do is go to our first speaker, which is Nolene Blackwell. So Nolene will be familiar to many of you. Right now, she is going to spotlight her up there from the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre, and of course, before that, she would have been familiar to many of us on our screens as the woman behind and in front of FLAC, the free legal advice centre. So maybe first and foremost, you might take us through your own, not through, I suppose, your own career, Nolene, but your own leadership career, because that is the essence of what tonight is about. It is all around people, and particularly women in leadership and moving forward in their journey. And, you know, you've heard a sense there now of the friendship and the empathy and the support and so on. So in terms of your leadership journey, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Susan, I will, but actually it's not that interesting, so we mightn't spend that long on it, because in truth it's only other people who have ever kind of put me in that position of saying you are a leader and you're able to do something. And I kind of take it right back to the fact that maybe I never developed beyond 2 or 3, or maybe 3 or 4, when I learned to speak, and I discovered a couple of phrases that have stood the test of time with me. And one of them is, it's not fair. And the other is, why not? So those are the two things that you hear kids saying the whole time, and I don't know that I ever got much further than that. So in many ways, what I have done in terms of just the work pattern, I trained quite by accident. I trained as a lawyer when I was very young, no legal background, no real understanding. A friend of mine was going to do law. I thought it sounded like a nicer job than national school teaching, even though I hadn't worked out the holiday stuff. But so anyway, that's what I did. And what law did do was give me a way of a framework for kind of understanding the world and understanding rules. And I love an owl rule when I get a handle on it. So that was fine. But out of that understanding of law then came an interest in fairness again. I think huge credit to Amnesty International, which was the organization that kind of shaped human rights around me and taught me that it was actually a good framework for me to work out my two basic questions. Why not? Why are things the way they are? And it's not fair. And what can we do about it? Because again, being the eldest of three daughters, I was bossy as well. So that suited me very nicely. And I think really in some ways, everything that I have done since then in terms of maybe making this kind of, getting me the privilege of coming along here tonight, getting me to meet Sorcha O'Grady, who told me about Maria Staunton. So I did know about the fact of her being a winning Mayo captain, Susan, before you did. All of those kind of things, meeting you, getting the chance to speak to people here this evening, has all been about ways in which I maybe have felt a bit of a need to speak up about something because it just doesn't strike me as right, and maybe it strikes me as something I can do something about. And so I did it. I practiced as a solicitor, first in Tipperary, very happily there for a number of years. Then I had my own practice in private practice in Dublin. I found myself getting more and more involved as a volunteer with Amnesty International and later with other organisations, and also getting very involved with the Department of Justice, indeed, but a different division, the asylum division. I did a lot of asylum and immigration work and a lot of family law work. Came across a lot of injustice in those areas, and I suppose those have built, and I still think they're my big questions. It's not fair, and what can we do about it?
I love the way you frame the world through the eyes of that, young, bossy, eldest daughter. And actually, it's the first time I've ever heard anyone shape the world. When you talk about giving law has been an enabler for you to see how the world is framed. But you described that very, very simply, Nolene. But another thing that I'd love to ask you about is I know something that you're quite passionate about, and it rings throughout your career, is women finding their own voice.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we could talk about that from the point of view of your current role. We could talk about that from the point of view of the people who would have been coming to FLAC. And of course, also people who would have been coming through your private practice, through asylum. I mean, all of these areas, it is about representing perhaps those who don't have a voice, or those whose voice is a whisper. So could you tell us a little bit about that in the context of what the Empower program is all about, which is enabling women to go forward and to go higher?
Yeah, so I, from the little you told me, even just when I came on the call here this evening, and from the little bit I know of the Empower program and the people who are on it, I think I have nothing at all to teach anyone. So all I can do is somehow share my own insights about that area and about women's voices and how they have waxed and waned over time, and how difficult that has been, and maybe just work back from where I am right now in my current role, because this is where I saw it really clearly. I can go a whole decade without having a good thought, and then a blinding flash comes and it occupies me for the next decade. And I've been in the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre now for over 4 years. And last year we had our 40th anniversary. And the people who founded the Rape Crisis Centre were very young when they did it. They were in their 20s, early 20s, and my goodness, they were amazing. But the great thing about having young founders is they're still there for your 40th anniversary. And those women, Anne O'Donnell, Evelyn Conlon, Olive Braden, and Barbara Egan were the 4 who came along, but a whole group of women. And sorry, Susan, this is kind of going around the houses, but I think it's moderately interesting. So let me just see if I can work it out without spending too long on it. What those 4 women said when they were on the panel at our anniversary conference last year, they spoke about the hardship. There was no sense that they were in any way nostalgic for the early years of the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre. They had gone and founded an organization that people did not want to know about. They were all feminists. Now, feminists were doing fine at that stage. It was the 1970s. There was a recognition that women's rights were badly behind and that something needed to be done. We joined the European Union. There was a requirement in law, at least, of equal pay for equal work. So there were things happening. But certainly, nobody wanted to talk about rape and sexual abuse. And these women recognized the courage and the tenacity and the clear thinking to recognize that if you were a victim of rape or sexual assault, and there was a series of scandals at that stage of terrible rapes, that there was nowhere for women to go and there was nowhere for women to heal. But although they founded it and they set up a helpline that in that first year helped 80 people, and last year we launched our annual report yesterday, we had over 14,000 contacts, so it's grown an awful lot. But in those days, people did not want to know that there was that rape and sexual abuse needed to be talked about. And this they did, but they did it on foot of enormous marches that were going through all our main cities in those years, called Reclaim the Night marches, where people were women were claiming the right to wear what they want and to say what they want and to walk where they wanted without the fear of physical or sexual assault. So in some ways, there was a big wave of people out there, a big wave of women who were adamant that women's rights in this particular area of sexual violence would be progressed. And my question, I went into the Rape Crisis Centre is, and then what happened? Because when I went in just 5 years ago, now it was before Me Too, it was before the Belfast rape trial, before a whole lot of other things that were happening, things were starting to happen. But really, people were still whispering, Dublin Rape Crisis Centre, instead of saying it out loud and not talking about it. So what had happened to those thousands of women who had been out on the streets? And to my mind, the absolute tenacity and courage of the women who kept the Rape Crisis Centre going through thick and an awful lot of very, very thin. They were reduced to a whisper, but they kept the whisper going, and we were able to talk about it again and the need arose. So we stand on their shoulders, all of us who have benefited from their courage and bravery. But what happened in the 1980s, what happened in the 90s, was that they were told to shut up and get back into their box. So I've done kind of little exercises for myself over time where I try and say, you know, actually women have made an awful lot of progress over my lifetime. I am a very young 60-something-year-old, obviously, but like over that time, and I started practice in Dublin in the 1980s, women still had to get their husbands to sign for them to get not just a bank loan, but a television, to rent a television, or to open a current account at all. Public servants were retiring on marriage until the 1970s. Women weren't getting the children's allowance. women couldn't raise children really on their own. The children were called illegitimate. Domestic violence was something that you put up with back at home. At that stage, there had only been one female minister, Countess Markievicz, back in the 1920s, and men had to sign for women's passports. Now, an awful lot has changed, and economically, women are now in areas that they never were in before, the clergy, the army. I see that the first naval commander was appointed during the week, and I have to say, a good Tipperary woman at that as well. So that's all good. But she, like, you know, it is only now that we have a female naval commander. So while an awful lot has improved, and while nobody is raising an eye at the moment at people on the Empower programme, recognizing their capacity to set up their own business, there will still be people who will be asking, you know, who's doing the housework, or where are you? Well, we have to mind them. And I have a beautiful quote that I take from one of the women who set up, and of course, if I find it, I'll be very lucky. But she set up, yes, there was a woman called Alice Paul who first wrote out the Equal Rights Amendment Act in the US in 1923. And I don't know if any of you are watching Mrs. America, but it's on RTE now, and it's on that very topic, but later on. But she said, I always feel the movement, talking about the women's movement, is sort of a mosaic. Each of us puts in one little stone, and then you get a great mosaic at the end. But it is still the predominant voice. All the advances that have been made have benefited men and women and men. And it is still the norm that the decision makers are the men, and that even that people who are talking up, you need that extra bit of courage if you're talking up as a woman. And I might just say, before you cut me off, because I've taken up the whole night and everyone wants to make cocktails, but I mean, just as you were as we were coming on there, and you were talking about the things that the women had been talking about today on the program, the Empower program, talking about confidence, talking about courage, talking about self-belief. If I was asked now, I would say women are better at the things that make fabulous leaders, such as hope, confidence, a belief in doing the right thing. But fear can often stop us speaking out because we're still conditioned in that way to a great extent.
Well, I find looking here at the comments is that everyone in their own way, Nolan, listening to you, has gone through their own kind of, oh my God, is that where we are today? I mean, I am a product, personally, I am a product of the marriage bar. My mother went to Cork because the woman whose job that she ultimately went on to take got married, and therefore she had to leave. She met a dashing young man, and he hit a car, and now I'm here. So so therefore I have it to thank, kind of, really. But I mean, you know, Deirdre here has just put in a comment saying, my God, and she said that at exactly the time you said about signing for the passport. And like, that idea is you know, to many of us is absolutely you know, alien. Sorka says, Nolene and Maria, two of the most humble leaders you'll ever find, supporting and encouraging women all day long, all the while playing down their own impact. I wonder, do you, Nolene, are you playing down your own impact, or what does a statement like that make you respond with? So
first of all, I wish I was up there with you, so that that's what I want to say to Sorika first. But it's just I think we tend to. I think women tend to. They are clear. They are more cautious about claiming their own value and worth. But sometimes I actually think that's just plain common sense as well, because when I look at the certainty with which certain leaders will proclaim things, you know, I'm not, I think maybe I'm just cautious anyway, but I have got better at it over time as I realize actually that we need to name it for everybody, because it's not just, this isn't about women versus men, and because gender has become so much more fluid as well at the moment, it's not even a great concept, because so many people are not conforming to the stereotypes. Nonetheless, we are, for the most part, brought up with those stereotypes well embedded. All the books we read, all the music we hear, the poetry we read, the films we see, you know, all of these conform to the stereotype, where we are more cautious at, I think women are more cautious, or so-called modest, at claiming their own self-worth. Now, again, I don't think it matters, because I think other people take what they want out of it. And this is another thing that's just, having spoken to you, following Maria's very kind invitation to be part of this, and having spoken to you, Susan, I started, of course, trying to work out, you know, what women in leadership was going to be all about. And you get totally bogged down. And the reason is that the people that I value as leaders are not necessarily the people that you value, because what resonates with me is people who will speak out, because that's kind of my piece of work. In terms of Dara and the fashion influencer thing, I on the other hand, I often think Sinead Burke, one of the little people who has made the cover of Vogue magazine now, you know, she dresses so beautifully, but she dresses to highlight the issues of disability. And I just think, there's smart for you. You know, it's just different people have different ways. And I suspect what I say this evening isn't even a concept for some of you who are listening, because you don't have that caution or that fear about naming the things that need to be named, or naming the anxieties that we all have to deal with. And I think maybe COVID will give us that capacity to understand that everybody is anxious, and that our leaders are the people who best address the anxieties of the time. So for instance, you've had people who've changed direction on the course thanks to COVID. Wow, that's really impressive. And then you will have ones who, in spite of the restrictions, will say, we're still going ahead with what we wanted to do anyway, because good will come from it. So different people appeal to different people. And there's loads of leaders that I don't know about, or I don't even hear them well when they're talking, but I admire so many people, and so many of the people that I admire are women. And now my current thing is that where people are disadvantaged, they are afraid more of speaking out, quite rightly, because they risk displeasing the more powerful people who are listening to them. And because women still remain more disadvantaged than men on the whole in the world in which we live still, there is a need, I think, to remind us that if we're a community, and if we listen respectfully to each other, and we recognize when people are speaking with integrity, then we advance the capacity of the voice of women to be heard with greater clarity, and that will give us a more equal society.
Well, to tell you about the resonance you're having with the people who have joined us here, Avelyn says, Nolene, thank you for sharing the story of the founders, so powerful, reduced to a whisper and kept the whisper going. We've benefited from their courage. Some says, so inspiring, Nolene, so much positivity and progress for female entrepreneurs, but there's still work to do. I grew up in a house with 9 brothers and the girls never really had a voice. Rachel said, a very humble lady. Jane says, Nolene has given such a great social commentary, showing how far we've come, but rightly pointing out it is still much more difficult for women. Rachel says, yes, Jane, but more women are finding their voices, and this is wonderful. There's a shift and a change for the better.
Yeah.
Claire said, we stand on the shoulders of courage and bravery of the women that set up the Rape Crisis Centre. Powerful talk, Nolene, thank you. Rachel says, Sinead is amazing. And Sinead Burke, I've had her in myself to speak to, so I run a business called Savvy Teen Academy, where we run transition work experiences, and Sinead is, she really is, she's the funniest woman as well. Yeah. She's great crack. She is incredibly inspiring, and there's such substance to her, I have to agree. Aisling says, I love her. She has a book coming out next month. Then Katrina says, Nolene, such a pleasure to listen to you. Aoife says, so inspirational. Gillian said, we still live in a man's world, but as more women come through, I hope we will have more equitable and just and caring society and economy. Women do need to stand up as leaders, and have the confidence to raise their profile, which I think is your point. Janine says, Nolene, thank you. One of the major themes emanating from emancipatory research on women in community and political leadership in Mayo is that the caution on the part of the women at claiming their own value and worth, again, which you spoke to. Rachel says, I agree, Nolene, they can be alienated immediately. Christine said, I used to have a comfort zone. Michelle says, thought-provoking conversation, amazing, Nolene. I could listen to you all evening. Christine says, now the box has burst, referring to the comfort zone, thanks to other strong women, which I think is, again, the whole essence of Empower. Janine says, there is so much cultural change. We're so grateful to women pioneers like you. Does that resonate with you, a woman pioneer?
I'm still stuck with the one. I used to have a comfort zone. I'm going to pin that up somewhere. That's really good. No, I'm not the pioneer. Actually, I'm not. I truly am not. But and actually, I'm a late adapter to almost everything. But that doesn't really matter either, because it takes us as well. I see the pioneers. I know who they are, and you see that. And that's another thing, I guess, that you will have seen in the people on the course here is curiosity, because they're asking the big questions like, what do we need to figure out? And then people like me, I'm actually really good at the practical stuff, so I'm happy to come along as the late adapter. But it doesn't mean that I don't have my part to play as well. If I don't do that late adaptation, I can't speak to the people who will listen to me. So for instance, the brethren, and I use the word advisedly, in the legal community, to a great extent, it is a very hidebound establishment with wonderful people, men and women in it. And you see great things happening, like the latest Mary Irvine, president of the High Court. But there was a time just in the justice system, and this has not much to do with anything, but I was on a board where I was doing a good bit of international travel. I used to say there was a time when our Chief Justice, our Director of Public Prosecutions, our Minister for Justice, our Garda Commissioner, and I had our Chief State Solicitor, and I had one or two others, were all women. Now it is back to just one woman. The DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, was the only woman until Helen McEntee joined back as Minister for Justice as well. So, I suppose one other thing I really want to say, and we see it here, but less in Ireland and more in other countries, how precious our rights are and how easily they can be tarnished and damaged and taken away from us. And the people from whom they will be taken first are the people who had them last, because that's human nature. Because when women, or when any group of disadvantaged people, whatever way they are, seek to take power, it's not true, in my view, that you just spread it out and there's plenty of power for there. No, other people have to shift as well. So for instance, a conversation we're trying to have in the Rape Crisis Centre at the moment is about truly consensual behaviour in sexual activity. We maintain it's the key to reducing sexual violence way, way down. But the truth is that requires people who felt entitled to not worry about consent. It requires them not to worry. So their power is reduced. So the price of freedom is the eternal vigilance, or whatever that quote is. It is the truth, and I am appalled by what I see in Europe and elsewhere in the English-speaking world, and God knows in other places as well. But just even in systems which have known and understood democracy, and we thought it was going up the whole time, it ain't.
Well, Nolene, I'm going to read out one more quote that somebody has put up in here in the chat, because she's gotten some feedback from the others to say that she's nailed it, and that is that when you look at the world as a whole, there is a feeling of empowerment occurring through women, but it is being done with empathy, authenticity and honesty. Values true leaders behold. Wonderful to have the opportunity to listen to you, Nolene. And again, I mean, you know, they keep coming. They keep on coming. And what's great is that people are putting these messages out to each other as well, which is lovely. Before I'm going to go over to a couple of participants in Empower, and just before we go to Septa, Nolene, what I heard you say tonight is that law gives us a great framework in understanding the world. The two key things that you learned as a small girl that have since carried you through is why are things the way they are, and it's not fair. And I just see how they suit you down to the ground in terms of all the stuff you've done. I suppose it was uncomfortable listening to hear the 40th anniversary where the original founders had no nostalgia, as they founded something that nobody wanted to talk about. And I, as a numbers woman, I picked up on this, is that there was 80 contacts in year one, and you had just announced 14,000 contacts in the last year with your annual report yesterday. I love your quote of each one of us puts in a stone and we get a lovely mosaic at the end. And actually, I mean, isn't that what all of today has been about, is the mosaic of the Empower and the brochure and all that is on the Facebook page. You said that people need an extra piece of courage to speak up. You said women are better than men with the things that make great leaders, like hope and empathy, but often suffer more fear. You said a leader that resonates with you is somebody who speaks out, and particularly leaders who speak to the anxiety of the time. And again, something I suppose we should never forget is that people who get their rights taken away first often have them last. So if we were in a room, I'd say you'd get a standing ovation, Nolene. So thank you so much indeed.
An absolute honour. I thank you all so much for your kind comments, but it's been an absolute honour and privilege. And you know, if there are extra invitations going to that event, Maria, when you get it working non-virtually anymore, I'll hear over to see you as well. But thank you very much. It was a total honour to be part of this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much indeed, Nolene. And what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to go to two of the participants who have been part of Empower. And the first one I'm going to go to is Katrina. So Katrina, would you mind just sharing maybe just a minute or two of your experience of what Empower has meant for you and the experience of it? And Anya, I'm going to go to you, and then I'm going to pop across to Septa.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Hi everyone, my name is Katrina and I'm the founder of Prepare Me, and I was a participant in Empower in 2017. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Maria. I think it was 2017. And it was just a fantastic experience. I sort of happened on a brochure for Empower, and I can clearly remember emailing Maria Staunton and I want to has a real social aspect to it, and I'm not sure whether or not I'm entitled to a place on this. And she encouraged me so strongly and warmly to apply, and I did, and the entire experience was incredible. The best thing out of it was the networking and the peer-to-peer support with the other participants. All of those women that were in my group, we are all still fantastic friends, and we constantly cheer each other on. And I think that's something that's really, really needed for women in the business community. I think Irish culture in general is not always set up for the energy of a startup or trying to be an entrepreneur. I don't, for me anyway, have very many people in my social circle or even in my family that will truly be able to cheer me on and not have the fear and the worry about what the heck am I doing. So having that peer-to-peer support of other people in the same position is just so important, and having Maria's encouragement the whole way through. The story that she told about a participant giving another participant a call up in Dublin was to do with me. One of my peers on Empower was at a health conference, met a contact that she knew would be really important to me, and took the time to step outside and just say to me, get on a train. And I caught the last train from Athenry to Dublin. I stayed in her room. I snuck into the conference because it was about 450 quid for the ticket. I got a warm introduction from her to this particular person, and we went on to do one of our first pilot projects with that person. So that's one example of a direct result of the support that's available in Empower. The one thing that I would wish for the programme going forward is that it gets more money. I think that's the only thing that's missing from it. Women in the Empower programme should have the opportunity to compete for funding so that they can test their business concept out, because until you have the opportunity to do that, you really don't know whether or not there's a business in your idea. And I would love to see the Empower programme get funding, or the participants get a stipend, or there be more of a competitive edge to it. In my view, that's the only thing that's missing, because I came out of Empower and I went on to New Frontiers Phase 2 and Phase 3 12 months later. And I needed that 12 months to sort of order my thick skin on Amazon and get it delivered and make sure that it fitted me, so that I would be fit for the competitive nature of programs like New Frontiers, where it's still a very male-dominated atmosphere, for want of a better description. So that's the one thing that I would love to see it get in the future. And Maria Staunton, for me and all the girls, like, we're so grateful for all of your support. You've been amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm sure you, Sandra, taking it over, you're going to be just as good. So yeah, thanks a million.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Katrina. And I have to say, you're a mighty woman to put on the spot. So we'll all know where to turn from there. And some really lovely comments coming in there to you personally as well. You've clearly got, well, sure, look, I'll read one out. Katrina encouraged me to apply for Social Entrepreneurs Ireland Academy. Forever grateful, super encouraging. I would not be where we are today. Another Katrina, founder Kinship Care Ireland. Woohoo to the ladies of 2017. And they're having their own thing going on there now. So on that note, I'm going to bring in Anya. Anya, would you mind just giving us a moment or two about your experience of Empower?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. So my name is Anya, and I come from County Galway in a small village called Clonbur. And I'm an immigrant from Russia. Moved here in 2014, and I did my Empower in 2018, I think. And it was absolutely amazing for me, because as an immigrant to Ireland, I really didn't know anybody, and I had some ideas about starting my own business, but I wasn't sure how to go about doing it. So the network and Maria's, they've just been amazing and so helpful for me to kind of discover what facilities are available, what funding is available for me, and just kind of gave me the courage, I guess. And I recently started a business with a partner, a friend of mine, actually in April, just this April. We started a bakery, which is it's a micro bakery, and we operate online. So it's completely contactless. So we make sales on our website, and then we deliver bread on Fridays. And I really couldn't have done this without New Empower, for sure, because not only the encouragement, but also I learned a lot about how to build websites, how to use social media, how to kind of harness the strengths that you have. And also I realized that living here in rural Ireland, community support was really important for my business, really. So yeah, thanks so much. I'm really excited to be part of this network, actually. So.
Thank you very much indeed, Anya. And like, what a great time, what a fantastic time to take that courage and to make that step. And so Maria actually just commented here, Anya completely pivoted her business, but shows that what you can learn. Sorry, the comments are coming in so fast. I'm trying to keep up here, which is great. Keep them coming. Put me under pressure, no problem at all. Anya completely pivoted her business and. But shows but shows when what you learn, you can utilize those skills in any business. So well done, Anya, absolutely.
Thanks so much.
And at this point, I am going to go across. We're going to go live to Sept's kitchen. Here we are now. I hope everyone has the fresh mint and the rum and the pestle and mortar. Geez, they're awful fancy looking things she has there now, like all of our kitchens, I suppose. So, Septa, would you mind taking us through? We've sent everyone the ingredients for what's going to happen, and I'm looking forward here. I think this looks very, very fancy and very impressive. Over to you.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks very much for that. Like, hello, ladies. It is fabulous to be here, all the way from the Cookalicious kitchen here in Galway. And normally I'm trying to encourage people to cook and to eat real food. But tonight, I'm your cocktail girls. I'm going to talk you through a few fantastic cocktails that we're going to make. Just a couple of things. I had a few, like, wasn't this morning just amazing? It was just full of such amazing take-homes. And there are so many things I'd love to say, but I'm going to pick one take-home that I think is really, really important. And it was, we are all on this huge, big adventure, but we need to keep the fun in there as well. And this is where I come in. This is your little bit of fun for this evening, a little bit of something to kind of keep you going when the days are rough, or you need to reward yourself at the end. So we're going to make two cocktails, two really, really quick ones, giving you an option so you have a choice. We are going to make a lovely minty mojito, and we're going to do my version of a cosmopolitan. So you need a glass, you need a pestle and mortar, or a jug if you have it, or a little rolling pin, and a jug. You need some, this is for the minty mojito, you need some Bacardi, some lime juice, some brown sugar, and a spoon, and of course a knife. So just to talk you through it really, really quickly, I have loads of mint here from my garden. Anne Byrne would be insanely proud of me. And I'm going to pick off a load of leaves. You can take as many or as little as you want. I've kept the recipe very, very loose. And I have my pestle and mortar here. But I'm just going to literally rip up these leaves, just kind of roughly. And in the top of them, I'm going to put a small teaspoon of soft light brown sugar, okay? And then, this is going to save you having to do a workout tonight as well. I'm going to get my mortar, and I'm going to literally bash the mint against the side of the pestle, and that sugar, you'll see it, the sugar starts to literally break up and bash the mint. And around about now, your kitchen should be starting to smell fairly fantastic. Okay? So you just bash all that mint through. I'm actually going to throw a little bit more because I want loads of mint in here. Are you all bashing away there? So you literally bash the mint in your pestle and mortar, and you've made a puree out of it. And then you're going to come along with a lime that you're going to roll kind of gently on your wooden board. That's going to loosen all the gorgeous juice inside. Chop it in half. And then we are going to squirt half of that lime juice into our pestle and mortar, just like that. I don't know about you guys, but this kitchen is just smelling zinging at the moment. Just fantastic. So I'm going to mix it slightly again, take out my mortar, get the spoon that I use my sugar for, and literally loosen all of that green goodness from the side. So you have this green gob that looks like that, but it smells amazing. Get yourself a nice tall glass, and into your glass pour in all of that lovely green, minty, sugary concoction. I'd lick that if I got away with it, but I won't really. So you have this in here like this. We're going to get a bit of ice to add in there as well. I've got a little bag of ice, and I've said crushed ice in the recipe, but like I know people aren't going to have crushed ice. So what I do when I haven't got crushed ice and I need some is I pop it into a bag, I get my rolling pin, and I do it action. So you see girls working or cooking is like a little workout as well. So we're going to literally tip half of this ice in on top.
Just letting you know there, Septa, that at this stage there's people in here. Anya says that they've come up with a concept for a new show called Cook with Septa on Sunday. The Gin Kitchen with Septa, says Rachel. I mean, you know, we've got a branding agency going on right now. All we need is Dara on his new show when he's streaming live on Snapchat to be giving you now the thumbs up.
When I'm in my kitchen cooking these days, all my demos are online at the moment. I'm generally in my bare feet, but I smashed a huge big tub or a big glass jar earlier. So the kitchen corner is covered in glass. I'm here with my little slippers on. Get yourself your rum, guys. Bacardi is rum. You can use regular white rum. You can use a nice kind of dark, really, really toasted flavoursome one. So I'm going to use a lovely dark rum for this. And I'm going to pour in about 60 mils, or just under. It doesn't need to be exact. And then I'm going to top it. I'm going to give it a little stir. And I'm going to top it with some, what have I got? Soda water. You can use tonic if you want, like, but soda water is better because it hasn't got quinine in it. So top it up with your, oh, mind the bubbles, and literally get a nice straw, give it a little stir. Doesn't that look amazing? Green goodness.
Anya says yum, Claire says yummy, Rachel says can you open the door, we're all outside.
We are good. I bet you all are outside. And there we have our beautiful minty mojito with our gorgeous rum and sugar and lime and your little bit of rum in there, loads of crushed ice. This is like a little hats off to Maria, who is a complete and utter superwoman. She's fantastic. We're going to enjoy that now in a minute. But if rum isn't your thing, I have another one for you. So we're going to do a cookalicious version of a cosmopolitan. I'm going to clean my mess up here. The water's filled up everywhere. And I'm going to get myself a little, I'm actually using a NutriBullet top. So normally you're making your gorgeous healthy smoothies at home. This is great for making cocktails too, because like most of us don't have a cocktail maker in our own house. So a NutriBullet top, or you can use a jug if you haven't got one. And for this, you're going to need some vodka. You're going to need some cranberry juice, some orange juice, some lime, and what else? And some pomegranate seeds. And this is super quick to make, really, really easy. You need about 2 parts vodka. So I just use a small little measuring cup that I have at home. And I'm going to take about just under 2. Once you're using the same cup for each one, it doesn't really matter how much you're going to put in because the proportions will be the same. I'm going to add in 1 part cranberry juice in here. You can see you're getting all of this lovely immune boosting goodness in. So 1 part of cranberry going in there as well. We're going to put a ½ part of orange juice. I'm going to shake it just to release all the gorgeous juicy bits from the bottom. This is practically a health drink, isn't it? Practically counts, I think, like they're like, you know, part of your 1 of 5 a day. You've had 2 of your 5 now in here. So a little bit of orange juice gone in there as well. And we are going to take the rest of our lime that we had earlier and squeeze a little dash of that in. And we're going to throw in some crushed ice. We kept half in the bag earlier. Mine is nearly gone to water at this stage, but we'll get away with it. And literally pop your lid on, give it a good stir to combine everything. Do a bit of Tom Cruise.
She's made for TV. Honest to God, you're made
if I would ever get to be a cocktail girl, I may as well just embrace it. I'm normally telling you to eat gorgeous, good, healthy food. Open it if you can. And if you're me, I like to drink my drinks out of something like a tumbler because I'm really clumsy and I'm always knocking things over. So you can use a little tumbler for your Cookalicious Cosmopolitan, or you can be very, very posh and use your martini glass. I think we'll go posh tonight, will we? I think so. So literally tip in your gorgeous Cookalicious Cosmopolitan. Everyone has oranges, lemons, limes in the house this time of year because we're all trying to keep you know what away. So boost our immune system. I'm going to take a little strip of orange peel, pop it on top, and I'm going to throw in a few little pomegranate seeds. Do you know these? They're absolutely gorgeous. I'm always trying to shovel them into the kids, like, you know. And it generally works. And I'm going to tip a few of those in as well. So literally pop them in on top. And that's just to make it look really, really, really pretty and gorgeous. So every woman on Empower, every woman here tonight, very humble to be in the presence of you, deserves to have a couple of empowered cocktails up their sleeves. And I hope this is it. So cheers, girls. This is your gorgeous minty mojito. Here's to all these amazing super women out there. But I think I'm going to have a little sip of this one. Cheers, lady. It's just fabulous to be a part of this tribe. You've got me to where I am today, and let's all just keep moving forward. Cheers, Maria. Cheers, Susan. Cheers, everyone.
Honest to God, I mean, in all fairness, whoever came up with this idea, fair play to them, fair play to them. I'm glad that we have got to see you in person before you take to the small screen. I have to say, I really, really do. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm sure it's lovely, yeah. Believe you me, I won't be drinking on the job now here. I love the way you hold up the jar of pomegranate seeds for us to smell them and tell us you're shoveling them into the kids. So Fiona says she is amazing. Rachel says taste vision. Jerry says fabulous. Cheers, empower her. Janine says sláinte Septa. Evelyn says brilliant Septa. Catherine says cheers. Katrina says fab Septa. Catherine says well done Septa. Cheers to all. Louise says cheers ladies. Anya says cheers. Just fab Septa, says Sharon. I could go on and on. Rachel says priceless. I'd watch you all day. Anya is currently sending her husband to the shop. Fiona says love to be drinking a few of those with our Empower group at some point. Cheers all. Catherine, Katrina, Brian says the official drinks of Empower. Geez, the men in here really know how to do this influencing thing all right now, don't they? We have best of luck to the past, present and future Empower participants from the European Social Fund, says Catherine. Jeanette says, I'm with Sandra, fabulous, can nearly taste. And that is that they're all hoping that when Empower 1 and 2 come together, Septa, that you will be there to literally bring them through it during that. So Nolene is looking for an invite. Septa is being brought back by popular demand. Maria says she needs her own slot on TV. Anyone got a contact? We need that perfect, we need that happy personality. Catherine says official drinks, haha. Well done, Septa. Thanks so much for your time and for your, and certainly for the way in which you've navigated that. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. So now it gives me great pleasure to bring Claire Desbonnet to your screen, which I'm going to do right now. And there we go. So Claire, Dr. Claire Desbonnet, I should say. First of all, tell us a little bit about you, because your career and the journey has been so interesting. I don't want to leave anything out. So why don't you start and take us through where you've been and what you've come through?
Okay, thanks, Susan. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight, and I'm humbled to be here speaking to so many great ladies. Knowing your speech was just fantastic, and to hear the ideas from the Empower program are wonderful. So a little bit about myself. I'm a Mayo woman. I grew up in Achill. I'm the eldest of 5, and I think I learned to be a leader because I was the eldest. I got all the jobs, you know, take this one here, feed that child, do this. And probably at an early age, I learned to empower people to get them off my back so I could do my own stuff. So I think it was a good learning. There's probably a whole story in your place in the family and what you turn out to be, but that's probably a different discussion. But I was passionate about science from a young age. I took off down to the University of Limerick to do industrial chemistry, and I stayed there for 8 years. I continued to do a PhD. The research and the learning, just, you know, it really, I suppose it really, it ignited me. I actually probably wanted to be a doctor, but I'd fainted the slightest bit of blood. So I threw myself into science to change and be part of, you know, medicine in that way. So my early career took me up to Henkel in Dublin, better known as Loctite. And if any of you have ever seen the glue stitches, you know, that you get instead of sutures, I was involved in developing those. So the early ones were really runny. So if a rugby player had a stitch to be done on the pitch, it could run and glue his eye as well, which wasn't great. So we actually came up with the right formula to make it thicker, but do the same job for wound healing. And then the West came calling for me. My husband's from Galway. Despite our name Desbonnet, he's a Galway man, and we came to Galway. I went to Boston Scientific. They make lots of stents and devices. Real, I suppose, passion for making devices get to the people who needed them. And I was always in individual contributor roles then, in those roles. And I moved to Roche in the same type of role, Roche, just outside Ennis in County Clare. And I was there working on lots of drugs, new cancer drugs and drugs for, we say, immunosuppressants. So Sept is a drug you take when you have an organ transplant, and it helps your body retain the transplant. Worked on a lot of that. But a big change happened for me in 2010. I went from being this individual contributor, delivering patents, delivering great science, being part of contributing to new drugs, to becoming a leader. I became the leader of the quality assurance group. And it was very different. I went from being in control of everything I did now to having a team, and they had lots of work to do, but I wasn't really in control of how they did it. So I had to learn and adapt new skills. And I would have said that that was the biggest transformation in my career, but it started me on a path of realizing what a leader really is. You know, I accidentally kind of fell into it by being encouraged. But once I got there, I realized the passion I had for delivering great science transferred to the passion for delivering great teams, developing people to deliver the science. I didn't have to take away my passion. I just had to get to it in a different way. And I take the view that being a leader is a privilege. You have a privilege to take people through their roles and work, but you often, as a leader, affect people not just in their job, in their whole life. You know, work and our environment and everything has an effect in everyone's whole life. So through Roche, I progressed from a manager to be one of the site directors, and I had the opportunity to run the site for a while. And in that time, I suppose there was lots of discussions about glass ceiling being broken. A female had never done that. A female had never ran the maintenance department, had never ran the production plants, had never ran the site. So there was lots of discussion about that. But I found from that I'm in a position of privilege of leadership. I moved through my roles, I learned, but my journey to leadership, you know, was quick and I found it relatively easy. But not everyone had the same story, and not everyone had the same experience. And when I looked at my qualities, like I'd be a little fearless, like go for something, I'd try it out, I'd want to take on something new. I was inspired then to see what I could do to help other women within my own company. And then I have started to become part of Network Galway, Network Ireland, part of other groups. I'm part of the Work Equal Conference with Sonia Lennon. So I started to realize what I have achieved, I can try and help others. So that's a summary of my career and my leadership style.
Well, I think first of all, I mean, I'm intrigued with the point you made there about that it was easy. Particularly maybe the earlier part is easy, but you had to do a very difficult job with Roche, didn't you, Claire? I mean, but would you mind telling us a little bit about that, because that certainly sounded well. I'm going to let you tell the story, but that was a challenging thing to do amidst that leadership.
Yeah, so I suppose that's the most challenging part I've had in my career, apart from moving from being an individual contributor to being a manager, was in 2015, Roche decided to sell the site in Ennis. So the site had been there over 40 years at the time, and was a great site in terms of producing lots of life-saving medicines, great history, no quality issues, no safety issues, really well-performing site. But it was just unfortunate that that site and 4 others were being sold or closed, because the way we make medicine is different. The site in Ennis was built in the 70s when you needed to make blockbuster medicines. You needed huge vessels. The medicines we make today are made on a smaller scale, they're more potent, and they're more individualized or personalized. So it was a consequence of advances in medicine production and the way the business environment is. So it was a very difficult thing for the site to have to deal with initially. So in 2016 and 17, the site was unsuccessful at being sold. It's a 70-acre site. It was very hard to get a buyer to come to the site that would make a profit, to fill the site products and make a profit. So we had to close, we knew we had to close the site, but we couldn't close it until 2020. So from the middle of 2016 to 2020, we had to keep the site open, keep a portion of it open, make life-saving medicine, but then close it. So we decided, like, what can we do to make this the best experience for everybody? The best experience will be to make sure we did the job well, our patients were still served, but the people working there at the site would have the best opportunities for future afterwards. And I suppose that's where the big challenge came in. And, you know, there was lots of discussion about how would we do that. You know, we knew over the 3 years what the production volumes were. We knew what we had to make to serve the patients. And some of the feeling was maybe we'll just plod along and do that, and maybe give some people training at the end, their CVs, and help them for interviews. But there was a different feeling from a number of us to say that, you know, the people here at the site contributed to great science, to new medicines. You know, they've invested a lot in this site. You know, can we invest in their futures? In 2016, a number of people had left us and had interviewed locally, and we'd gotten feedback that they were great people, but they were maybe, I suppose, Rocheified. They've been with Roche 20 years. They didn't maybe present themselves or the terms of what we're doing in the right language. So we got a hint that we needed to upskill in that area. But we also got a hint of what's coming for the future in the manufacture of devices and medicines, and operational excellence, and like it's a lean way of doing things. Toyota, who make cars, were the first people to look at it. It's a structured, lean way. Is the future. It's the future for agility. It's the future for adapting. It's the future for moving different processes. So we decided to invest in ourselves as the leaders first, to learn the tools for this, and then actually then teach them to the site. So it was a leader-led program. We had to engage people, and I took on the role of being the coach, looking after the behaviors and the coaching. And I suppose my biggest role in that was making people realize that the behaviors really mattered. You know, in a scientific organization, we love tools, we love KPIs, we love sheets, we love problem solving. But the behaviors around how you do things, like I've always felt since I've become a leader, are more important to have them right and the foundation them right than just the tools. So I was the leader of the coaching element of that. So we drove that to help get the skills into the business, get the leaders to learn it and teach the teams. And I suppose what we achieved over that was on processes that were like over maybe 25 years old, we're able to reduce down like, you know, the cycle time by 20%. The site saved 3.5 million in terms of the problem solving. But the skills that people gained were the big issue. And we got recognition from that from like Lean Awards, but all of that fed together to help the people at the site get jobs. So up until actually yesterday, I gave 2 references for 2 people who are moving into new jobs from the site. But up, as far as I know, up until the last numbers that are collected, over 80% of the site that left in March now are in new employment, because we helped encourage them. But we're also paying it forward for what we did. We help people get new jobs. But now these businesses in Limerick, in Galway, in other parts of the country, have these really highly skilled people that can contribute to their business now, so it can continue.
Well, one of the things I have to say that's so clear and admirable from you, Claire, is the bird's eye view you have of things. Is that it's like, I mean, imagine that other businesses can now benefit from the skills investment that ultimately you were a pivotal part of. I'm just going to mention a couple of comments that are coming in here. Sharon said, speaking of recognition, Claire was awarded the Outstanding Businesswoman of the Year for Network Galway last week, and now you know why, an outstanding leader. Sept said it's genuinely so humbling to be part of this amazing tribe. Jill says, fantastic, Claire. Rachel says, well done, Claire. Maria says, Claire is just wonderful. She really does empower so many more women. Great role model. Humble also, and not talking about the huge change management she had to implement in Rosh. Sandra said, congratulations, Claire, deserving winner. Eva said, amazing achievement. Congratulations, Claire. Evelyn says, well done, Claire. You're inspiring. So much achieved. Maria said 2016 to 2020, keeping a site open, making life-saving medicine, but also work to a closure. So hard to keep employees motivated, I reckon, knowing their jobs are going. And Dara said, congratulations, Claire. Fantastic story, fantastic achievement. And Katrina says, congratulations, Claire, on your award. What a story. And I'm sure that they'll keep coming. But Claire, how did you take care of you throughout all of this? I mean, to go from an individual contributor to become a manager, then to becoming a leader, there was part of your role there when you became managing director. You know, now you're in a different environment. Because one of the things that came up this morning, a question that was fed into us that ultimately I put to all of, particularly the influencers, was work-life balance, and particularly the area we looked at there is, does social media, being very active in social media, eat into that work-life balance? So look, it's a topic that everyone talks about in environments like this and others. How did you and how do you take care of you?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question, and I think it's something that we all have to be aware of. It's something I had to learn, and it's something I'm really good at times, and sometimes I get caught up in the busyness, this has to be done, everything. Like, you know, myself and my husband have 3 children as well, and they're like 10, 8 and 5, and you know, life is full and busy, and work is busy. But I think you have to, as a leader going through all that change, you have to, I suppose, look at the controllables. You know, you can only control the controllables within the work environment, but also you have to build in some reflection time for the work part and for yourself. I'm actually an introvert, so I recover or replenish myself from time by myself, some reading, quiet time, which is, you know, impossible to get in a house with 3 kids. But you know, that's how I recover, or doing something for myself, or taking some time away with a friend, taking some time to read a book that I like to upskill on something or learn something new about. And I have to be purposeful about that to make sure that I can build that in, so that I can then be my best self within the family and my best self then when I'm in the work environment. But, you know, I learned a few things. I'm an observer. I learn a lot by observing. And I suppose that's how you learn probably in leadership, is observing other leaders and, you know, mimicking what you see done well and changing what you see not done so well. But I remember going to a conference. It was about probably about 4 years ago now. Our youngest was 1 at the time, Anya, and I was going away for a week, and I was speaking at this big conference. And you know, I wasn't so worried about what I was going to speak about. I was really worried about the outfits for the kids for the week, the dinners in the freezer, you know, everything being laid out, you know. And just before I went to the conference, I was at my GP for something, and you know, she asked me, and I told her, and I said, I'm all organized, I have everything done. And she asked me, if my husband was going away for a week, would he have done the same amount of prep work that I would have done? You know, and I said, no, but that's my job. And she said, who said it's your job? Surely he knows how to feed the kids. He'll find the clothes. There's a washing machine in the house. I was like, my goodness, she's so right, you know? So even with like all the best intent to do things, you know, to help whenever, we might be helping ourselves in that, you know, we need to take a step back. We need to, you know, have equality in the home, especially if both people in the home are working in a family, you know, but we more than just for ourselves, for the next generation. I have 2 daughters and a son, but I want my daughters, you know, and my son to have the same opportunities, but I also want them to see that equality. So, you know, I learn things along the way, but it's very important to take care of yourself. And oftentimes when, you know, you hear someone's story and you hear about the success they've had, you see that that's the top of the iceberg. Underneath the iceberg is much more. It's the dedication, it's the maybe, you know, getting through things when they're difficult, it's the good habits, it's the, you know, looking after yourself. There's a great quote that I saw from Buddha, and it says, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, and what you imagine you create. And I think that's so important, and especially as women, we can take on lots of things at the one time, which is probably a strength of ours, but, you know, make sure that we're taking on time for ourselves, the way we speak to ourselves. You know, are we hard on ourselves? Sometimes women, we expect ourselves to be brilliant at work, brilliant at home, go to the gym, do everything, all of these things. You know, we might speak to ourselves in a way that we wouldn't speak to a friend, a colleague, a loved one. You know, we really need to take that time. So for me, it's the time alone, the reading, a bit of meditation, reflection, and, you know, a night away with the girls.
God, you have the blueprint. You really, really do have the blueprint there. And I think the Buddha quote is important. And I also think, as somebody who doesn't have kids myself, but as I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of work with teenagers. I'm really aware all the time when I deal with hundreds and hundreds of teenagers a year, what they're seeing. And obviously what they see, they don't question because it's always there. So yeah. I think you're spot on there in terms of the behaviors that you emulate at home are ultimately the ones that your daughters and your son will learn thereafter. Couple of points that are coming in here. For example, I have to go way up here again through all of this. I tell you this much, if anyone was to download all the chat that I have looked at here all day, you would never again need any motivation ever again in your life. So Claire is a wonderfully inspirational woman, says Claire Ryan. Great speech, Claire. Jeanette says, congratulations, Claire. Learning so much from everyone tonight. Thank you. Assumpta. This is so true. So I think this is the conference point you made. That is so true. I can totally resonate with that. The last person on the list is mum. I've cooked dinner for everyone and then flew out the door to meet someone, even without having time to eat. Vicky says it's knowing when to set boundaries and to stick by them. Difficult to do, especially when brought up to be there for everyone else, but it's vital. Otherwise, you will be no good for anyone if you don't. Maybe, Claire, just on that point, boundaries, whether it's professional, personal, the introvert in you needing the boundaries of the space, or whether it is the boundaries you put between, you know, when you become a manager. It's a one-word question, boundaries.
Yeah, I think boundaries are very important. It's very important for me actually to figure out, you know, how I start my day and end the day, and even the clear distinction between work and on home life, which is very difficult at the moment with the COVID situation. You know, I was actually trying to do something in the kitchen this afternoon and the kids were all talking, and it's actually very, you know, this situation is making it more difficult. But I think boundaries are very important, and boundaries are very important to figure out what you're trying to do in your work, in your life, everything. Like, I'm a huge believer of knowing your purpose and your why. Like, my purpose as a leader is not, you know, to create success for myself, it's to create success for others. You know, my purpose as a mother is that my kids all have equal opportunities and grow up to be good to be, you know, to be good adults, good humans. But I think the boundaries about what you can do, like it's very, in our always on world, we can always check the phones. We're replying to emails really late. We can, you know, check things all the time. To have a time to do those things is very important. And, you know, sometimes it's the crisis and you might need to be on, but only have it around that. Like, don't let everything be the crisis, because if you don't get time to switch off and if things start to blur too much, you know, I've seen it from a number of friends and colleagues, unfortunately, that, you know, have had the always on and have had stressful jobs and then have led to a situation where there has been burnout. And that's not where anybody wants to be. And that's not where a place that you can easily recover from. And that's also not showing a great example for our next generation. So I think whatever works in terms of making sure that you're clear on your time frames, but also, I suppose a huge thing for me on boundaries will be integrity, you know, integrity in what I'm doing, integrity and connected to what the purpose of what I'm trying to do.
And well, I think having that sense of a North Star, that sense of knowing your why and so on, that has to be immensely powerful as a leader, but not just of a leader of a business, but leader of a home as well. It's an interesting point Sandra puts up here. She says, Claire, did having all that prep done give you peace of mind going to the conference?
You know, it probably did, you know, give me peace of mind going. But, you know, if I thought about it, and if I had discussed it before with my husband, I didn't need to do it, you know. Like, you know, and I was giving him all these, you know, all these, like, do this and this and this. And he said, look, my priorities are, I'll feed them. You know, no, he said, I'll keep them alive, I'll feed them, and they'll be as clean as possible, right? So he didn't need all the stuff that I'd done. So it probably gave me a peace of mind, but it took up a huge portion of my time where I could have been spending the weekend actually with the kids, you know, as opposed to getting ready for the following weekend. You know, I think that's what's important. Like, it's a team effort. We're all in it together. I saw a comment jump up there. It's a family effort, and it is a team effort, and it has to feel that way. It has to be that way naturally. But sometimes it takes a discussion on that. You know, often as women, we take on all the roles, and we might assume that we're the only ones that can do them, but we're not. We're absolutely not. And to really have that role modeling for the future, I think it's the right thing to do.
And I'll go on through the comments here, because they dovetail naturally in there with what you're saying about don't assume, have that conversation. Finola says, women tend to naturally assume carrying the mental load as well as their own work and careers, needs and ambitions. Brilliantly explained, Claire, thank you. Maria Flannery O'Boyle says, lovely to listen to, and we'll share with my 14-year-old daughter, who's also an introvert. We had an introvert work for us last year as one of our staff, and I learned a huge amount about managing introverts, but also the incredibly good networkers that introverts are, and so much more. So it really was an eye-opener for me. You might have spotted I'm an extrovert myself. So is everyone laughing at me? God, my whole screen is full of people laughing at me. All right.
But we need both, Susan. We need both.
Yes,
we need diversity, and you know, we need diversity in personality. We need it in gender for sure, but in experience and background, in age, we need diversity, a richness of diversity for, you know, for great leadership.
But it is a point of diversity. It's worth exploring both sides and having both come to the table. Guilt is often a huge issue for women. Agree, it's important that we have time out too. Hugely important. Jane says, Claire is such a clear thinker and so articulate, and that's what strikes me about you, Claire, too, is the clarity of thought that you have. I agree with you, Jane. A joy to listen to. Deirdre said, spotted this recently and it rang so true. Women are expected to work like they don't have children and parent like they don't have a job, even with the supportive spouse. It's a challenge. Sandra says, I agree, you need to empower your children too. It's a family effort. Rick said, a terrific take-home quote from Claire, my purpose as a leader is to enable success for others, not for myself. Sept said, fully agree, Sandra, total teamwork. Catherine said, yes, mammies definitely go on autopilot. Vicky said, a fellow introvert here, Claire. Yvonne said, you are a fantastic motivational speaker, Claire. Thank you for your insights around leadership, purpose and balance. Septa said you can be both an introvert and an extrovert. Yep, you can be an omnivert for sure. And as we bring this particular section to a close, Claire, what do you hope? I suppose I kind of want to wrap this around to finish almost where we started with the path that Nolene set out, which was looking back and seeing how far we've come. So let's say your daughter is here in, you know, your eldest is here. Let's give her 15 years until she's on the Empower program herself. And let's say I'm given the honor of interviewing her too. And let's say that she is describing the future as she sees it. What do you hope she sees? What sort of, is it, well, sorry, I won't prompt what I think you might say, because I have no idea, but what do you hope that her ambitions for her future at that age would be?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, you know, it feels like it can be hard to imagine that, but I suppose what I would really hope is that she sees a more equal society in a whole, that she feels that she's at every opportunity, the same as her brother and any of her male friends. But I would hope that she would see it all over, you know, leaders in the world, leaders in our own country, leaders in sports coverage on telly. That's a huge problem in terms of for girls. Like, girls finish, there's lots of research that shows girls stop their sports activities around 11, 12, 13. And some of it is due to, you know, body image and that. But a lot of it is due to what did they see on telly? They don't see female sports enough to encourage them to do that. So in that, and also in, you know, in a bigger, wider society, I think that she would see and feel that change. But that she would see that she can achieve whatever she wants. My mom was a great motivator for me and a great inspiration. She's no longer with us, but she had a great saying in terms of, you know, let your difference be the difference. You know, I suppose I felt a bit different in school in that, you know, I always wanted to learn, and, you know, I asked for extra homework and I got, you know, teased and all that. But let your difference be the difference. And also, you know, what anybody else thinks of you is none of your business, you know, drive that way. And I try and instill that on my daughters. But what I would see is, you know, mom was always saying as well, you can do whatever you want. And as I went through life, I could see the opportunities, but there wasn't always the opportunity to do whatever I wanted. I'm trying to pave that way within business and bring other women into leadership to do whatever they want. But I don't want my daughter to have to do that work. I'd like me and others to have done that so that it just happens, that it's, you know, we're not having discussions in 15 years time about ratios on boards. We're not having it about ratios and leadership teams. That, you know, we are moved past that. I recognize the need for it now, and I recognize the need for the encouragement, but that we've moved past that. That's what I'd like to see.
Well, I mean, I saw Nolan Blackwell nodding furiously into giving the double thumbs up there for sure, along the way, which I just think is so deserved. And again, just like was said there earlier, just about the whole idea of clarity there. I really like your mum, I have to say.
Yeah, oh, she's amazing. Yeah.
I got on. Well, we didn't need to save Sept there now. If we had a oh, hello. Is there someone there who's going to come in and say hello to us? So, I'm just going to read out some of the comments here that have come in here. Mary McKenna says, that's Mary from this morning, who we all know. Ambivert here, didn't even know this existed until a few months ago. It explains a lot. Having known Mary for a few years, it actually does. Sandra said, I completely agree with Claire. When you let the husbands help, they're happy to do it. We need to respect their different approach and goals, keep them alive and fed. I'm a social introvert. Mary McKenna said, thanks to all the evening speakers. What a wonderful day, an inspiring day it's been. Thanks again, Maria, Susan, Sandra, and everyone who participated, sponsored, shared, and really joined in. Sept said some very nice words to me. She said, you're incredible at what you do, Susan. I'm in awe of your energy. Thank you, Septa. But I think we're all in awe of you tonight. Janine says, Claire, inspiring role model. You've created your own opportunities. Katrina says, let your difference be the difference. That's tweetable. That should be a hashtag or Instagrammable or something. Dara, we need your expertise here. Vicky said, well done, Claire. A real inspiration to us all. Sheila says, Networks Award, well due, congratulations, wonder speakers and a pleasure to listen to. Maria said, again, as I touched on in sports, if we cannot see it, it cannot be. Hugely important. We see this in all aspects of society. Rachel says, a wonderful evening, fantastic speakers. Claire, you're an inspiration. Thanks. Maria, Susan, Sandra and the team. Katrina said, you're bang on, Claire. Biggest ambition for Empower will be to become unremarkable and not exist, which is an interesting point there, Dara, which is to become unremarkable and not exist in 15 years because the playing field will have levelled and it won't need to. Rachel says, here, Trina. Brian says, an inclusive society. Sept says, Claire is so grounded and amazing woman. So yeah, the love is real. The love is real, all right, coming in here. So thanks again so much, Claire, for all of your time and for your insights this evening. So at that point, I have now to bring the evening to a close. And well, just as I was about to do that, Rachel is summing it up for me. She said, I logged on this evening with no particular expectations, and I must say, I've been blown away. Such inspirational panelists. Thank you for your time and information this evening. Very motivational. And I just tell you a very, I suppose, a brief story to really bring this to a close is that when I met Maria and Sandra back, I met them first back at the start of June. That was when we started working on this. And they said what they wanted was to have a real celebration. And at that time, the numbers were declining really fast in terms of the unmentionable, as Sept mentioned earlier. So there was a potential that tonight could have happened. And then Maria said, look, no, it really, let's not take the chance. And she was right. But what they wanted to achieve was to have a sense of celebration, to have a sense of positivity, and to have a sense of, well done everyone for whatever part of the journey you took. Maybe it was you started a business and you didn't expect that you would succeed, or maybe you're getting to the next level and you struggle, or maybe you feel you're on your own, or maybe you feel there's something wrong with you, or maybe you feel that there's something right and you can't get at it. And I have to say that, I know I said it earlier on today, but the panelists and the speakers have made my job so, first of all, wonderful to think I had a ringside seat, but secondly, so easy. And on top of that, the amazing interaction by everybody. I mean, if I never did anything to prepare for today, all I'd have had to do was read out the chat. And therefore I wouldn't have had to do much more. So there's really and truly lovely comments still coming in there. And I don't have the time to read them out, so I apologise on that. But truly to Nolene and to Claire, and also to Sept as well. Again, a huge thanks to Maria and to Sandra. Thank you obviously to the Department of Justice, represented here tonight by Dara. Thank you so much indeed for all that you're doing to support the programme. And also thanks indeed to our speakers who took on the mantle, our participants, and turned up tonight without a whole lot of notice, to be told. I literally made them a panelist and asked them to turn on their video, and away we went. So truly, I mean, it's been my absolute honour and privilege to be here all day and to have spoken to you all, and thanks so much. I wish every single one of you the very, very best in every way. Enjoy your cocktail, and Sept is clapping there, so on there, she hasn't even finished the first one yet. Good woman. So I really do hope, actually, and if there's one request I have, Maria, is that whenever the invites are going out for that event in Galway, when there's Empower 1 and 2, yeah, I'll be on the train as well. Myself and Sept will meet, Katrina can meet there on the train, passing each other on the way. So thank you indeed to every single person, so much indeed for everything. Thank you all. I was going to say safe home, but that's downstairs, and good night.